My entire thrust as a parent has always been to empower my children, to guide my children, but to never control my children. Whichever course she's ever taken, she has always given it her 100%. And this is something my mother taught me. People like my grandmother or my mother or me or now my daughter for that matter, who are very strong, independent, focused, driven women who are committed to having independent lives. There's my son, Omar, who's an absolute sweetheart. He and Alaya are poles apart.
Hi, this is Amina Sheikh, and with me today I have Pooja Bedi. Hi Pooja, welcome on eTimes YouTube channel. How's the lockdown treating you at this moment? Like, how are you dealing with the entire pandemic phase?
Well, Samina, to be honest, I've been extraordinarily busy through the entire pandemic. I have a startup called Happy Soul, which is a health and wellness venture. And all I did through the entire lockdown of 2020 was work extensively through it. My team has been doing the work from home regime. I have started the company in Goa. It's a Goa registered startup. And of course, here, it was open, for a majority of the past few months. We've had Goa really beautiful and open. So my offices have been functioning. My retail stores of health and wellness have been functioning. In fact, my health and retail store was open through the pandemic because we classify as an essential store. So I've been really, 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 really busy, and now we're launching other verticals of health and wellness. So I think we're just I'm working nonstop and I'm working around the clock. So no complaints on the work front, apart from the fact that of course the lockdown does make it very difficult for all of us to function. The work from home may work at times, it doesn't work at times, especially with a startup. And there are many variables to HR at this point of time, which is very frustrating but completely understandable. So I think all in all, I'm on a good wicket. I'm on a good footing. Touch wood. Everyone around me in my family seems healthy, happy, and hearty. We are obviously not immune to the realities of what surrounds us, and the fact that of course there's a tremendous amount of pain and suffering and disease and loss of life and loss of jobs and a lot of anger and anxiety and stress and conflict. And my whole endeavor as a person, as a human, and as a citizen, as well as the founder of Happy Soul, is to always spread health, wellness, healing, positivity, which I've been doing continuously through my workshops as well, which I've conducted over the past many months online.
Pooja, in 1991 to 1995, you had created awareness about condoms ad. So what would you like to say that you have always had a progressive thought about, subjects which matter, which are concerning? Do you somewhere feel that even now such topics should be touched and spoken about?
Samina, I have to say that times have changed dramatically, since the last 30 years. Back then, even speaking about sex was done in hush-hush tones. Back then, premarital sex was pretty much taboo. Living in together was still a sin. Being a divorcee was a stigma. There were many, different attitudes, I would say, to relationships, to sex, to love, to, inter-caste marriages, inter-religious marriages. The reality 30 years ago was very, very different than what it is today. Today, we are living in a far more permissive society. Of course, there are people who've been path breakers, people like my grandmother or my mother or me or now my daughter for that matter, who are very strong, independent, focused, driven women who are committed to having independent lives, to living by the law, but yet having our own moral code of what we consider right for us. And how our journey should be. It's been very diverse. So my grandmother, for example, was an ordained Buddhist nun, and one of the highest ordained Buddhist nuns, who gave up her family and gave up everything to have that journey. And that's her inner strength, and that's her calling. For for other women in society, it's been a very different way of showing strength and coming forward and breaking the shackles and taboos and stigmas and breaking boundaries and breaking glass ceilings and all of that. So I think when we look around us today, it's evident that we have really transformed a lot of our reality for women. Fortunately, there have been laws now that have been put into place to protect women, a lot of laws that have been put into place to empower women. And in their personal lives, even in the workplace. So for all these measures, we have all campaigned relentlessly and hard. And for that matter, then I turned around today and I even support men's rights movements because I believe in equality. So for me, it's not just about the woman being, progressing and being empowered, but it's also equally about empowering men simultaneously, or rather not disempowering them at the cost of our empowerment.
When you made your Bollywood career, when you started off your career, Pooja, what were your thoughts? Your thoughts basically, because you already came with a family background where your dad was already an actor, your mom who passed away, she was an Indian classical dancer. So when they already had their own journey where they have seen the film industry very closely. So when you made a Bollywood career, what was your thought? What was in your mind that okay, now I have to start my journey as an actress?
It was a very different reality. I was a class topper and I wanted to go to Wall Street. In my head, I was headed to Wall Street to be among the movers and shakers of the planet. And I wanted to be out there in the corridors of power and money and all of that, and rule that roost. That was my agenda. It so happened that I was homesick and I wanted to come back to India, and I missed India. I missed the ethos. I missed the people. I missed the going to school there was very different because I was dealing with teenagers, dealing with young urban Americans. And it was all very fascinating to me initially for the first few months. But, I remember to go tell my father at some point, I said, Papa, this kind of inane chatter about just cars and, nail polish and, and it's sort of very a frivolous teenage conversation continues because I grew up with my parents and their friends essentially. So I was, in an era where I was that J. Krishnamurti and Freud and Jung and Osho and all of that being spouted, and you had musicians and creativity and talent and art, and it was just so full. And I just missed home, and I missed the ethos, and I missed the vibe, and I just missed India, and I had to come back. And I happened to get this movie offer while I was in America. And I saw it as my ticket back home. I just thought I'll use this as an excuse and I'll come back to India. And then when I'm back in India, I'm going to do this one film because I have to do it. And then I'm going to get back into studies and okay, maybe not Wall Street, maybe I'll look at Dalal Street, and maybe I'll do other things that, sort of shape my life forward from there. But I came back and my mom decided to set up Nityagram, her dance village, and said, good luck to you. And I was on my own, earning my own money at the age of 18, wondering how to pay my next bill. And I said, shit, I better start doing some ads, and I better start doing this and better start doing that. So I started taking up all these job offers that came my way just so I could keep the house running, keep my dog fed, keep my cook salary going. And I just took off, and it went from strength to strength to strength to strength. And I never looked back. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I truly believe in let life lead you. You have a journey, you've come here for a purpose, let life lead you.
That's true. Also, Pooja, like when you're talking about, how your journey has been, is that the same inspiration and guidance you give to Alaya also, who has made a Bollywood debut? And of course, that movie was definitely a good one. Jawani Janiman, of course, was applauded worthy and people spoke so well about the movie. So when Alaya actually thought of, making a journey in Bollywood, what was your, your advice to her?
Well, my entire thrust as a parent has always been to empower my children, to guide my children, but to never control my children. So I've always told them that, listen, babies, you will always have, as a parent, this is my obligation to you. I will always give you a roof over your head. I will give you food to eat. I will give you clothes to clothe your body, and the best education. And I will make sure that you have worldly experiences, you travel, you learn, you grow, and all of that. But if you want your luxuries, if you want your cars, you want your fancy stuff, go out there and earn it for yourselves. And what path you choose, again, is yours. There's no pressure whatsoever. You want to change your job 5 times, go ahead and do it. I'm here to empower you, following your journey, following your dreams. Don't feel pressured. You're fortunate today to not be in a position where you have to work for your daily, rosy roti, as they say. So go out there and follow your passions and make that into something that is a wonderful uh, income source for you, and and a life journey for you at the same time. And my daughter initially chose she wanted to do business, then she decided she wanted to do direction, and then she decided to get into acting. whichever course she's ever taken, she has always given it her 100%. And this is something my mother taught me from the time, she's been dancing to the, her changeover from being the society girl, this model, to being a hardcore classical professional dancer and the discipline it took, to giving all that up and her life up, to going creating Nityagram, pitching a tent in the middle of 10 acres of barren land out in the outskirts where there was no electricity and no roads, and building a whole institution today that is global and recognized, across the world. Um, if you give something your 100%, your passion, your conviction, it has to be a success. And most importantly, you are so damn proud of yourself, and that's what she's done. I've seen that girl wake up at 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, get out there, put on her shoes, go out there, whether it's been every single class, from acting to dancing to acrobatics to gymnastics to Pilates to, I mean, just name the class, addiction, dialogue, dance, done it all. Come home at till 2 in the morning, for years, just to be able to say, it doesn't matter, Mama, if my film does well or doesn't do well. At least I know I gave it my 100%. So I think that to me is very, very crucial. That whatever you do it with integrity. You do it with a certain sense of honesty, and do it because you love to do it.
Pooja, of course, what you said about, the entire journey where Alaya has been inspired. Somewhere also, there is a question in the industry about nepotism that even, did you face personally when you started off your career? And even right now, many actors who have come with the background of a film, having a film background, they actually get linked with this, nepotism is something which they get, that is that question which keeps on coming. So what do you have to say on that?
This word nepotism has been thrown at us so much. Of course, the time that I was growing up, and of course, the time that, I'm sure when Alaya was growing up and decided to get into films, it's natural that people will lash out. It's natural that people feel a sense of unfairness. My daughter beautifully said in one of her interviews that even in our struggle, we are privileged. Which is so true, because at the end of the day, you can't stop somebody from pursuing their dreams just because they happen to be in the same family. You can't say just because you're an actor's son, you should not be an actor, otherwise you'll be accused of nepotism, and that you cannot have, show forth your skill sets, and you cannot go and do passionately what you love, because people will say it's nepotism. That's absurd. I mean, through our centuries, we've seen a carpenter's son become a carpenter. We've seen a legendary sculptor's son become a sculptor. We've seen, in every field, we've seen a businessman's son, take over the father's business. It's natural when you're in a certain environment to know it best, to be imbibing it, to be learning about every aspect of that particular field, to be involved, to have it in your ethos, to have it in your, to have it in your being almost, because you're living, breathing, eating it, through your parents. So it's not just in terms of film. I think in every profession, you have people taking, after their parents, even in the medical world, for that example. Okay, but this word nepotism is really thrown around when it comes to films. And I think it's really unfair, because I think it's also a case of celebrity bashing, which we see very commonly. You usually go on Twitter, you'll see the trolls out there, and you'll see everybody the celebrities trying to find them, getting out their own personal frustrations and all of that. And it's okay, as they say, I can't take the heat stay out of the kitchen. And that's something that does come with being a celebrity, and something that does come with a turf. And so, you learn to handle it differently. I mean, you can't stop people from saying what they say. You can decide how you'd like to react and respond to things, which is, I think, what we have taught our children very well to do.
We have never spoken about your son as much as we have spoken about Alaya. When we actually speak about Alaya the most, as compared to speaking about your son, because of course he's not in the glamorous world yet. But tell me something about your son as well, because you're handling, both of them together, and we always see that, that fun quotient in, when they share any kind of videos. So what do you have to say about him?
I get asked about Alaya all the time, naturally, because she's in films and that's a life. So before she entered films, it was about both my children. Suddenly Alaya became this amazing, talent house, this powerhouse, and she won the Filmfare Award. And suddenly her career is taken off from strength to strength. And all I'm asked about constantly is Alaya. And fair enough, I get that. But yes, you're right. There's my son, Omar, who's an absolute sweetheart. He and Alaya are poles apart. She's this really social, gregarious, happy, fun-loving, sort of vibrant person. And Omar is so much more contained and soft-spoken, and he thinks before he speaks, and he's very measured in what he says. When he says something, it's really important, pertinent, and even funny, and has his spits of laughter. He's a joy. And he's both of the kids are intelligent. He's studying at USC in America, and right now he's taking a bit of a sabbatical because of the COVID situation. And there's really no fun in going in, being in America, being at USC, and then doing work from dorm. It really doesn't make sense. So we kind of give him a little break and breather, till classes really reopen and you can actually enjoy university life, which is the essential reason why we send children abroad, is to get a sense of themselves and independence and university feel and learn to be your own person and, all of that. So, the classes, the courses, the extracurricular activities, all these things are very important. So he's on a really good wicket. He's, I guess, finding his feet. He's professionally, that is. He is looking at right now he's doing business at USC at the Marshall School of Business, and he is focusing on what his next steps will be given the corona crisis, because I think it's important for everybody to put their thinking hats on and view the world with a much sort of fast forward situation and perspective, because a lot of businesses that we would have liked to be a part of will probably not be lucrative businesses anymore, and a lot of ways forward that we perceived for ourselves may not actually be the best, given travel restrictions or given all kinds of other situations that are bound to emerge, given how the current scenarios are sort of looking. So yes, all in all, he's a happy child. He's an intelligent child. He's a real family boy. He's the type of person who he'll get in the kitchen and he'll be cooking and he'll be trying things, and he's very concerned about people, and he's got a very gentle soul. So if if the maid's unwell, he'll be the first person looking after the maid. We have a nanny who's been with us 23 years, ever since before he was born, and anything happens to her, he's just so concerned, and even with the dogs, and you go cut their hair. He's a very compassionate, kind, sensitive, good human being. And I'm really proud of both my children for the humans that they are first. What they do professionally is really their choice. It's really their professional journey forward. I'm here to raise good people, to raise good citizens, to make sure that that they're kind and they're caring and they're loving and they're passionate and committed to living the best life they can live given everything that they have, and to share and to care. And that's exactly who they are. So yes, I feel very proud. And yes, it's been a wonderful journey being a single mother, and very fulfilling when you see your children reach this particular space. So yes, it's just it's like, and it's so different. I mean, you can't imagine these two kids grew up together. I mean, it's like you grew up in the same house with the same toothpaste and the same staff and the same mom and the same dogs, and the personalities are so polar. Like Alia loves the soft drinks, but Omar will just never touch a soft drink. He's more a nimbu pani kind of boy, So in every way they're just so different, and it's so nice to see that. It's just nice to see individuality. I love it.
Alaya was also recently linked with Aishwarya, and that news actually was quite everywhere. Does such things concern you as a mother, that maybe that might come her way in her career, or maybe like in professionally, personally? Like, does that concern you?
As far as her personal life goes, there's always speculation. As far as Alaya's personal life goes, there's always a sense of what is she up to? Who is she dating? Is she dating? I've seen about 7 news items about who they think she's dating, and then there's a question of who she actually wants to be with or who she chooses to journey forward with. Either way, irrespective of whatever it is, the point essentially is that today's day and age, it is not necessary for a heroine to be projected a certain way. In my time, things were so different. You had to be boyfriend free, you had to be a virgin, till the day you were married, at least have that image of being that, or else you were the vamp or the sexy girl, So there were these clear distinctions made at that point of time when I was doing films. Today, every single heroine is entitled to have a life, to have a personal life, and it does not interfere with who they are. The fan following that wanted to have a single girl, is very different today. Even heroines that are married are still getting roles. Kareena Kapoor, even after marriage has been doing roles, so as Aishwarya Rai for that matter, and very promising roles. So I would say, when you look at the industry, there's been a sea change, and that has happened because the audiences have changed. The mentality of the audiences has changed dramatically. Thanks to social media in a very big way, they know their these celebrities who they adulate over, these larger than life figures have come into their homes, come to their mobile phones. You're interacting with them, they're talking to you, they're interacting with you, they're sharing information with you, which is very different from an era I grew up in, where there was 5 film magazines that give scoops on your story, and all your entire inroads and insight into a favorite celebrity's life was in those pages. And which you had to wait 1 month, to read. Today, it's daily, it's 24/7 that you have information, and people are flaunting their lives and flaunting their lifestyle and flaunting, what they've earned for themselves, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, in every possible way. So, I don't think anything can interfere with your career unless it's your own distractions, unless it's something that you have decided is going to distract you from your focus. And Alaya is completely focused on where she's going and who she is, and where she'd like to be. I mean, for this child who had a film release in January, and then the lockdown happened in March. Unfortunately, her film had its full run, and it was pretty much out of the theaters by then. And she'd already been given rave reviews, and people are full. And then the whole country goes into lockdown. And you're ready, and you're charged, and you've signed films, and you're ready to shoot and ready to do stuff. It's really on a certain level disheartening, but you can't stop the rain from falling. What you can do is how you choose how you would like to respond to it. And she said, Mama, you know what? Let me work on my social media. Let me, work on staying, in touch with all these people who've given me this kind of love and this kind of support. And that's what she did through the lockdown. I think she went from 400,000 almost to 1 million today. On her Instagram, just because she wanted to go out there and connect and put forward whatever she was. She said, if I can't show my talent through cinema, let me do it through other ways. So she showed her art. She's a brilliant artist. She showed her dance. She showed her gymnastics in a way, her yoga, her flexibility, her life, her attitude, her personality. She endorsed different products. She earned a car for herself during lockdown. She's really gone from strength to strength and taken herself, I would say, from strength to strength. And then the lockdown was lifted. Then came the Filmfare Awards. She was delighted. She won the Filmfare Award, the best, debut. She was so excited, and she won the award. And there was another lockdown. Every time I have success, there's a lockdown, But it's the way she handles, every single wonderful, journey in her life, and and bend that comes, and how well she travels the road ahead of her. I'm very proud of both my children.
That's true. But also, Pooja, for that matter, of course, how your journey has been, you have spoken about it. Mother's Day is coming close by. And I would like to know from your end how your motherhood journey has been while, taking care of, your kids, also, being in controversies, and also, maintaining your personal life as well as your professional life. How the entire journey has been for you?
I would have to say that being a single mother does come with its fair share of issues as well as joys. You have to be the good cop, you have to be the bad cop, you have to be the mother, you have to be the father, you have to be the nurturer, you have to be the provider. There's so much that goes on with being a single parent. You go from being the hero to being the villain. And it's just been such a I would say incredible learning experience for me, because nobody comes with a how to operate manual. Neither do I have a manual as to what I should be doing, nor do I have a manual as to how to operate them. So it's just about learning, about developing, about guiding, about saying that I'm not here to control them, I'm here to guide them. And my entire endeavor, I would say, as a single parent, has been to shape them into being the best versions of who they can be, allow their individuality to blossom, allow their personalities to develop, giving them options to choose from. I think that to me has been very, very important, because at the end of the day, it is their journey. I can only enhance their journey. I've brought them onto this planet. I don't expect them to be my slaves. I don't expect them to be, indebted to me in any manner. I expect them to be their own people. And along the way, to turn around and love me back or give back to me. Well, good for me. That's the kind of mother I've been. But that's not because I expect it. That's not because I've shaped them into people saying, "Dekho, maine tumhare liye kitna kiya, abhi tum bhi mere liye wapas karo." I'm just not that person. I believe you give love, you get love. You give respect, you get respect. You give space, you get space. And that's what it's been. I mean, it's been, when they took off to go, to their respective universities, I came back. I came here to Goa. I formed a life for myself in Goa. I started my businesses in Goa. And then they came back, prematurely. And I was just like, oh my God, I formed my life in Goa and I have a fiance here. And I thought I was going to do my business here and that they're going to universities. And they've come back to do their, one has come back because she's entering films and the others come back because, of the lockdown. And they so beautifully understood that my journey was here now. And that, I mean, it was very hard for me to shuttle to and fro and to keep two different lives going. They have been so loving and so supportive back in turn, with all my relationships for that matter, which I've never hidden from them and always made them a part of my life and a part of my journey, and they've been so supportive and so happy, for every good person that came into my life. I mean, they are so fond of Maneck, my fiance. They just love and adore him, and they thank him for being in my life and for making me today the person that I am, because in so many ways he has shaped me too. So it's really nice that when you give kids love, respect, and space, that they do the same for you.